receiving yards last season. How does he stay on top of his game in the offseason? Oh, I'm so glad you asked. It's simple. He runs shirtless on the beaches of Miami with rapper Jim Jones.
Jim Jones!
With the whole city behind him.
Okay, Jim Jones.
What does Jim Jones sing?
Listen, he's a New York guy. Jim Jones, much, much bigger 2003 than 2018.
I guess it's taken you a long time to say the Diplomats.
I was trying to give you, oh, that would have helped you out, Jenna. I was instead of trying to give you his, never mind.
Jenna, you would love Antonio Brown. He really spends a lot of time training. He's one of the hardest workers in the NFL. He actually hired two of the people who work for me, Ron D'Angelo and Chris Verna, one to work on his body and one to be his trainer full time.
Just real quick before we get to the stories. Why do guys run on the beach? I mean, I think I know, but I want you to explain. Like, why the beach? Why is it the sand?
There is no. Now, I am a Hall of Famer, but our resident expert is Jenna. Why do they run on the beach?
Oh, because there's a certain sense of instability. So your foot has to sort of figure out the surface that it's running on.
You recruit a lot of different muscles that you typically wouldn't use running
if
on
you
a
were
stable
just wearing
surface.
sneakers.
So it helps with stability.
Yes.
So if Jenna had run on the beach more, she wouldn't have sprained her ankle doing that skip it workout she did yesterday.
Do you know how fast I was going when I did it? They said we haven't seen anyone do it that fast. I
haven't seen anyone yelp on the ground. Oh, man,
stepped on the ball. I thought I've
been shot.
No, but I did come in your office and check on you.
You know what? And I was really impressed with how much you actually know about ankle stability.
She was shocked.
She was shocked.
Yeah.
Cece was one of those routes on his hands.
I was very impressed. Time for some stories. Start your morning. The 1-seed Raptors beat the 2-seed Celtics. They dominated. Toronto stretched their lead in the East. What's CC?
I think the first highlight we showed was a game in Boston. Now we're showing a highlight in Toronto on the court.
Real? I don't think that's accurate, but go ahead.
Okay,
go ahead. They got a 3-game lead in the East.
Yeah, with 4 games to play.
Yes.
What do you think? Do you think the Raptors can be an actual serious threat to the Cavs in the East?
No, not to the Cavs. This is an important game. They lose this game, then all of a sudden Boston's only 1 back, and Boston has the tiebreaker. And what Toronto wants to do is avoid Cleveland as long as possible, because that means they get to stay alive in the playoffs as long as possible. So as the 1 seed, if Cleveland stays at the 3 seed, they can get to the Eastern Conference Finals. This was a big win coming off a bad loss for them the night before against the Cavs.
Yeah, both of these teams are a threat, but not a serious threat.
Okay.
All right.
Okay. All right.
All right. Let's move on to some baseball now. Giancarlo Stanton followed up his 5-strikeout game with a big day yesterday. He hit his 3rd home run of the season, a 2-run shot. Nick, he's now on pace for 81 this year because of all the math that you do to get that number. Following his lead, Aaron Judge and Gary Sanchez both hit 2-run home runs of their own. Yanks go on to beat Tampa Bay 7-2 to take the series. CC, how dangerous is this Yankees lineup?
They're dangerous. Jenna, when you want to go to a Yankees game?
Literally, and the next time you ask.
I know some people over there. I think you and I should go to a Yankees game to go check it out.
I would love to.
It's one of the best lineups they've been able to put, but that's going to be one of the questions. The question is going to be their pitching. I believe they'll have a lot of runs scored this year, but can their pitching match up with their hitting? Top to bottom, they have probably the best lineup.
I think by far.
In baseball, and they definitely have the best 2, 3, and 4 hitters. I believe it's going to be one of the sensational seasons for the Yankees.
And you might even be able to extend it to the 5 with Didi Gregorius coming off an 8 RBI game day before yesterday, pardon me. The only reason the Yankees are not considered the best team in the American League, just the best lineup in the American League, is because the Astros have, call it 75% of the Yankees offense, but double the pitching. Like the number 3 starter for the Astros might be the number 1 starter for the Yankees. Like the Astros go 4 deep with ace-level pitchers. And so that's the big difference as far as what the Yankees are thinking about long-term. Right now, coming off getting booed at home, nice to see Giancarlo hit a home run.
Yeah, and he fouled that up, striking out 3 more times.
Listen, you can go and strike out, man. 3 outcomes: walk, home run, strikeout.
Yeah,
a lot of
8 out of 9, though. Put the ball in play, son. Short right field porch.
Moving on to football, Deshaun Watson had a fantastic rookie season that was cut short with a torn ACL. Head coach Bill O'Brien saw enough in Watson's 6 starts, says the Texans will overhaul the offense to suit Watson's skill set. Chris, good move to build completely around a second-year quarterback?
I'm all aboard Bill O'Brien. In those 6 games, man, we saw one of the bright arms that we're going to see in the NFL. We look for him to be a dominant player for a long time. Yeah, Bill O'Brien's smart. It's a copycat league, too. So I look for them to not only emphasize the deep passing that he was sensational at last year with DeAndre Hopkins and Will Fuller, but also some of the RPOs, some of the stuff that Philadelphia was successful in the NFC Championship and Super Bowl with with Nick Foles. I look for Bill O'Brien to implement that into his repertoire. I look for this to be an exciting year. I don't think the knee hampers him in year number 2.
And I want to give Bill O'Brien credit. I was in Houston when he got there. I know Bill O'Brien a little bit. I know how adamant he was that they have a system. It's the Patriot system, essentially. And no matter who the quarterback was, he was trying, whether it was Brock Osweiler or Tom Savage or Case Keenum, any of the quarterbacks they had, they were trying to run the same type of system. And the only time the offense has been good, his whole tenure there, those 6 games with Deshaun Watson, or 5+ games with Deshaun Watson, I think this is a very smart move, and maybe similar type move you might see the team do that drafts Lamar Jackson.
Hey, sticking with football, Des Bryant's destiny in Dallas still up in the air. Cowboys CEO Stephen Jones recently said that Des and the team, they've yet to meet to discuss his future. The two sides are in a standstill over contract negotiations, and the team hasn't ruled out drafting a wide receiver. Cece, what does Dez's future now in Dallas look like?
Well, I think he's there at least this year. I think that Dallas should go to him, ask him for a salary reduction, but also give him an opportunity, because he's been one of the faces of the franchise, to earn that money back. And they should have incentives in there based on a couple different categories. One being 1,000 yards. That's where the bonuses start. 1,000 yards, 1,100, 1,200 or above. He should get 100,000 for each one of those. I believe that will help them bridge the gap. Also, for touchdowns, if he scores over 7 touchdowns, 8, 9, and over 10, there should be bonuses in the contract for that. I believe that part right there gets them to a happy point and get it signed for this year. Next year, they got to reshuffle the deck.
What I will say is this: the longer the Cowboys wait, the more the leverage shifts to Dez's side of things, because they all of a sudden, Dez's people will be able to say to the Cowboys, okay, so with this $4 million you're taking from Dez, who are you signing? Because the free agents are, it's not like baseball this offseason where all these free agents were available for a month and a half.
Yeah, typically teams say they ain't none of your business.
Okay, fair enough. Maybe they would.
The $4 million is based on your lack of productivity. Don't be worried. We're going to do something with it. First, we're going to take it from you, though. That's what you need to be concerned about.
All right, finally, OBJ has been in the middle of trade rumors this week, but don't mention that to new Giants offensive coordinator Mike Shula. Shula says Odell is, quote, a vital part of our offense. Cece, how vital is Odell to the Giants' offensive success this season?
I don't see a path to 10 wins, 11 wins without Odell. Now someone can come and make a trade offer to you and knock your socks off, force you to be able to trade him. But Odell, he's got to come back in top form. Him, Eli, they got Nate Solder as the left tackle. Their ability, can they come up with some type of running game? Because that's hampered their ability to throw the ball because they're too predictable. And Eli Manning has to resurrect his game. So the pressure is not just on Odell. All right, Mike Shula has got to be able to get the best from Eli Manning. He's been with Cam Newton. He got the best from Cam Newton. Cam's skill set is totally different than Eli. So I'm concerned about what type of game plan they're going to come up with, what type of system they're going to have. But I expect Mike Shula to get the best out of OBJ, him and Pat Shurmur, and get the best out of Eli Manning, which I believe is more important because OBJ is young. He's going to have a good season if he's able to stay injury-free. But Eli Manning, their offense hinges on how good can Eli be.
Well, and how good can Eli be hinges is a little circular on is Odell there or not. We know this. Eli throwing to any receiver that he's ever played with is in one bucket, and Eli throwing to Odell is in another. His career passer rating before Odell got there, 82.8. His career passer rating since Odell got there throwing to anyone but Odell, 83.3. His career passer rating throwing to the kid with the yellow hair, 110.2. Like, that is an enormous jump. That is a jump from statistically slightly below average quarterback to statistically Aaron Rodgers. And so that is what Odell has meant for Eli, which is, I mean, it's why, as Cece said, have to knock your socks off. You have to come to the Giants with such an offer that they look at and say, man, we're going to end up getting 3 starting players out of this. Whether it's because it's two high first rounders, one of which we can trade for multiple picks, whether it's a couple high draft picks plus a player, like you just in this league, unless you are trying to go into a full rebuild, which you're not doing as long as Eli's your quarterback, You don't trade away guys at the top of their position at 25 years old. You just don't. Like, I understand that he's on the market to a degree, but I think the Giants are shopping him. I used this analogy before. If you think about maybe I'd sell my house and you put it on the market for $100,000 more than the market value, you don't really want to sell it. You just want to see if someone will overpay.
Well, how much of what happened last year with Eli was because he didn't have his target? And how much of was... You know what?
They were a bad offense. Their offensive line wasn't good. They didn't have any type of running game, and the defense, given all the stars and all the money they had, that they were poor. So it's hard to impossible to play with those conditions. And not only
but not that much has changed this year.
Not only OBJ got hurt, Brandon Marshall got hurt.
Okay.
Like, they didn't have any weapons on that offense that I consider a number one or a number two. And when you don't have a running game, like, how are they going to score?
And their play left tackle was prayer. You know what I mean? They said Eric Flowers has never been the guy, but we're going to pray he's the guy, and it didn't work out for him. That's why they paid that money for
prayer works, so you need something else.
Okay, sorry.
Yeah, he didn't work.
Okay.
The dust has settled in New England just days after the Brandon Cooks trade went down. Some think it's a tough loss for the Patriots. I mean, last year, Cooks had over 1,000 yards and 7 touchdowns. Others aren't as convinced. Apparently, Tom Brady thinks that production is easily replaceable. According to reports, Brady was, quote, not sad about the Cooks trade. Nick, do you think the Patriots will miss him in that offense?
I do. I think the margin of error goes down exponentially without him. We saw last year they traded for Brandon Cooks believing Julian Edelman was healthy. Right? It's not like they traded for him at the last second. Oh, Edelman went down. No. They thought they had Julian Edelman. Then Edelman blows out his knee in the preseason. They have Brandon Cooks there. Gronk was unusually healthy for them last year. He missed 1 game with injury and 1 game due to the suspension in the regular season. Like, listen, the Pats, Chris Canty said it earlier, he's right. They've had a top 5 offense for a decade straight. But I don't think you trade away a good football player and what you get in return is an intangible rookie player. We don't know who he is yet. When you have other spots to fill, by the way, and instantly get better. I just think logically that's not the case. Now, can they make do? They always make do. And they turn players we never would have thought were anything, such as Chris Hogan, into good players. And a guy like Wes Welker, we thought was average, into a Pro Bowler. I understand that. But I don't think you get better trading away your best weapon at the position.
I don't think Brandon Cooks is the type of wide receiver that is dynamic enough that Sean Payton gave up on him. Josh McDaniel gave up on him. So for me, I don't think he's going to be, will he ever be a number 1 guy? That's the question. And you can't look at them getting rid of him absent of thinking that you were going to pay him somewhere between $12 and $15 million. So if you try to look at him separately, you're looking at it the wrong way. Because he comes with a price tag, and he is not worth that type of resources, especially on New England. They've had less athletes be just as productive. I don't have the numbers, Dusty, but I think about 25 receivers last year had over 1,000 yards. Like, you guys say, oh, he had 1,000 yards. That's 80 yards a game. I mean,
it's
68 yards a game.
Yeah.
All right? So many guys are doing that. And New England has had so many guys do that. So it's more Tom Brady than it is Brandon Cook. Like, so I'm glad New England did not give him the money because they didn't change the way that they do business.
We do have to, though, consider one thing. I think after this past season, most people looked at New England and said where they need to upgrade is the defense. A defense that cost them early in the year. They seemingly got a little together in the middle of the year, and then at the end of the year got them bad in the Super Bowl. Well, and they're like, oh, they got 4 picks in the 1st and 2nd round. Well, let's think about that. We know they got to get a left tackle. We know they got to get a backup quarterback. They might need to get another receiver. Like, those picks, as far as being able to get high-level, instant impact defenders, you're running out of draft picks now. If you got to get a left tackle, got to get a backup quarterback. I don't know if they'll spend one on a wide receiver or not. Like, I thought they were going to focus on the defense this free agency and this draft. That's not what we've... Go ahead, Steve.
I think Malcolm Butler's harder to replace than Cooks.
And that's on the side of the ball they need it.
And also, if there's any team that's better at replacing missed players at missed positions with people you would never think would come in and put that production, it would probably be the New England Patriots because they've done it. Hey, coming up, can the Cowboys dethrone the Eagles in the NFC East? Well, Jerry Jones thinks so. It must be facts. That's next on First Things First.
That's easy.